the changes pretty quickly for the ones going forward too. But as always, we're here for half an hour together just to do some mindfulness meditation, just ground ourselves in the moment. And with the idea along the lines of, this is what I would be doing anyway as part of my personal practice. And therefore, if I just narrate that and just explain it a little bit, you guys can follow on as much as you want to. And hopefully you can get some benefit from having that time, protected time in the day as well. So we talked yesterday, we did sort of a bit of coming back and just sitting with the moment, trying to just find ourselves within it. And that's a nice one, nice practice I try to do if I've been away or I've been doing something different or I've been traveling, just to have a session where you just say, okay, let's just press the pause button on my doing and just notice, observe what's going on around me and how I am within that, just to pick up, just to understand the rhythms, the patterns, the situations that I'm in. Today then, it's quite interesting. I've noticed on my mind, I've had some wanderings towards work, and you know how that kind of comes up. So, well, actually, I've got to do that on Monday when I get back to work, but maybe I need to send an email before that. So you get these temptations, if you like, these doing urges, because the mind is pointing itself at these particular work-based situations. But actually, I've still got 2 days of holiday, so I want to make best use of those. And in reality, I'm not getting paid for doing any work, so it's really important to try to protect that time and to remind myself that actually Monday morning, all of that will still be there and I can just work through it systematically. And, it will be done. It will have its moment when it comes. So I'm going to do a little bit of work on that today, and you can sort of think about how this might relate in your own lives or using it going forward in your own lives too. But really, it's about moments where we come into the end of a period, something new is going to come, or we're getting back to work or something like that. But we want to protect the time we still have, not letting the future invade now. So that involves just extending a bit that we did yesterday, which is just sitting in now, letting now be enough. There's another one of those golden nugget sayings of mindfulness. Can now simply be enough? And often when it's quiet and it's calm and we're relaxed, we've got this extra capacity. And it's hard just to let that be, isn't it? It's hard just to hold that space and enjoy it because we've got all of these other things that want to invade it. So we want to just let now be enough. But also because I have noticed, just as I've been sort of living life this morning, I've noticed these thoughts trying to grab my attention. So I'm going to move into a bit more formal work there on noticing thoughts, but letting them go. Remember, another golden nugget saying with mindfulness is, in order for the mindfulness techniques to work in our most meaningful moments, then we have to practice them in moments that are just run-of-the-mill, just random everyday moments. So that's an important thing to remember as we're doing the thoughts. Not only am I wanting to spot those thoughts that are about work and move away from them, but I want to spot any thought that comes up. Random, meaningless, weird, wonderful thought. If I can work on those throughout the day anyway, then I'm building up the strength to work on the big, meaningful, important or difficult ones when they come up too. And so all of the techniques we've been doing, the more we can just find them in random moments of the day, in quiet moments, in busy moments, the more we're just practicing it. A lot of people come into mindfulness and they want the benefits, which of course we all do, but they want them now and they want them in the most difficult moments. And of course, that's setting ourselves up for failure, for judgment. So I want to move away from that. So my direction of travel generally in life is to be more mindful. And that will help me in moments that I just run of the mill. It will help me to lean into positive moments that I might not otherwise. And of course, it will help us to deal with any negatives as well. So that's what we'll do today. So as always, if you want to just make yourselves nice and relaxed wherever you are, happy in your personal space, decluttered, if that's what you like. Some people like a lot of clutter around them as well. So as always, do what's good for you. And most of us will probably be sitting down. But of course, if you listen to this and you're walking or anything like that, remember mindfulness is not necessarily about energy levels. We slow things down as we're doing this deep work, of course. But you can be mindful in any state of energy. It's about your mindset rather than your physiological state. But for me today, I'm going to slow things down, slow the mind, body, and emotions down, sit inside that, and just work on thoughts, just navigating them away, staying in the present moment as much as possible. And if you'd like to close your eyes, please do so. But as we always say, you do what's good for you, keep them open or open them at any time if you'd like to. We'll start as we always do, that very first step, noticing now. Let's pause and let's push our awareness to what's going on outside of us for the next few moments. And you may be picking up on the microphone, I have a very chatty bird just outside the window. So that's the loudest thing I can hear. So maybe you can spot the loudest thing you can hear around you. Pushing our awareness deeper into that sound. Then let's look for those novel distinctions, those contrasts that we can sense. So what's the quietest sound I can hear? There's some distant voices of some children playing in the gardens I'm just picking up. What is it for you? Remember, we're noticing in neutral when we do this. The sound of the bird. We don't want to judge that, even if we're judging it in a positive, because then we might judge the sound of a car or a plane or anything else in the negative. So we're just being neutral with whatever we can sense. And let's bring the awareness inside ourselves as we do to that mid kind of area of body temperature. Again, let's notice the warm parts of the body first. And we can notice the cooler parts of the body too. And we can notice that natural breath rhythm that we use just to shine a light on, just to observe our natural rhythm of being right now. Try not to let the mind interfere, but just notice how the body is taking care of the breath all by itself. Noticing the pace of it, the depth of it, and the way the body is moving with it. And you might notice the mind wanting to get involved, wants to commentate, it wants to judge, it wants to change. Let's just see if we can sit with the natural breath rhythm, noticing the rhythms outside of us too, the sounds, the sensations, just letting it all be one. And we're simply the observer here, the witness, the experiencer of moment as it passes to moment. Just as we did yesterday, it's nice to sit in this state for a long period of time, just bringing the mind back whenever it wanders. Do remember it's more likely to wander if you're letting the natural breath rhythm be in the center of the experience. It's much less likely to wander if you're controlling the breath, you're using an intentional breath, a mindful breath. And so let's move into that rhythm now. If you've been with me before, you know the mindful breath is just a deeper, more rhythmical breath than the natural one. Biologists study this breathing with mindfulness, and they tell us the optimal breath to bring the mindful state is one that's around 4 or 5 seconds on the in-breath and 4 or 5 seconds on the out-breath. That's a big breath, so just find one today that's comfortable for you, but one that you do have to pay attention to keep the rhythm. And of course, in using an intentional breath, we can use it also as a mantra, so we can point the mind at the breath. So there's less room for the mind to wander and worry elsewhere. We can just use the same things as we did with the natural breath. We're looking for the contrasts here. We can use the pace of the breath again, the depth of it too. The way that the body is moving with the bigger breath. And sometimes there's a change in sound with the bigger breath, so hear that if that's happened to you. We can notice how this breath feels today. Maybe it's an energizing breath, maybe it's a relaxing breath, maybe it's just a deep cleansing breath. Whatever else it is for you is fine, as long as it's comfortable for you. And if it's not, just change the rhythm. And let's settle into this new rhythm of being that we've brought with the bigger breath. It's always a good idea here to remind ourselves that we want to let go of some things. Agendas, schedules, to-do lists, commentary, judgments, analysis. Let's try to let go of those things. At the same time, let's try to let some things grow. A sense of acceptance of ourselves, each other, the situation we're in right now. Just bring in that gentle curiosity and beginner's mind, which both really talk about allowing each moment to be whatever it is. Our job is just to experience it. Remember too, this is our protected time. And often it's not anybody else or anything else that pulls us away from the mindful state, it's ourselves. So let's try to give ourselves permission to slow the mind, body and emotions down. Knowing not only is it okay to do this, it's actually very good for us to do this. Just trying to enter that state of restful alertness. As always, it's nice here to try to let go of any bodily tensions too. So keeping the big breath rhythm, let's just notice the lower half of the body today. Whatever you can feel there, different pressure points, textures, temperatures. But as always, if there's anywhere that's a little more tense, spend a few breaths using the out breath to try to release and relax. And we can do the same with the upper half of the body. Just remembering we've got a couple of crucial parts here. The shoulders and the back of the neck too. Wherever you want to notice, wherever you find any tension, if indeed you do. Let's spend a few breaths now, trying to relax as much as we can. And then just noticing the face and forehead too, trying to release any tension there, relaxing the facial muscles. And hopefully we've been working on letting go of any body tension. We're simply going to take that process now into the mind itself, just working on letting go of thoughts as they arise, trying to keep the mind in the present moment. So from the forehead, let's move the awareness back, please, into the mind itself. This witnessing of the mind, this observer stance that we've still got. And on the in-breaths, whenever you just can, with an in-breath, just notice where your mind is right now. Maybe it's busy, maybe it's not. Maybe there's clear thoughts, maybe there's random abstract thoughts. Wherever you find your mind, let's accept it. Then with the out-breath, let's try to be intentional again. Trying to let the thought go, clearing the mind. Maybe pointing it back outside of ourselves to reconnect there for however long we want to. If you feel a thought coming back up, just witness it again and do exactly the same thing there. Let's try this for a couple of minutes now. depending on how your mind is today, you can keep going with this if you're having thoughts that are trying to invade that space. If it helps, you can just point your mind as much as possible outside of ourselves again on the moment-to-moment experiences that come. Maybe your mind's quite calm today. You want to spend the last couple of minutes just relaxing deeper into that state. And if you want to do that to help you, just keep the big breath rhythm as the center of your experience. Keep the out breath as a clear the mind breath. But also try to make the in breath a clear the mind breath too. So we're moving closer to a state we call pure awareness. A totally clear mind, but still fully attentive on the present moment. Final couple of minutes, take your mindfulness where you'd like to today. Let's just reconnect with ourselves as we start the process of coming back out of the meditation. Just noticing what it's been like for us. No judgments, remember. Every new moment is unique, and every time we try mindfulness, it's unique. But with this witnessing mode still that we're in, just want to notice. Notice the mind, the body, and the emotions. Notice the breath too. Maybe we've kept the rhythm, maybe we've lost it. It's okay. We'll accept the breath wherever we find it. But of course, we'll use it to bring the mind back to its normal waking state. So let's just reconnect with a big, intentional, mindful breath, please. Let's notice how this breath sounds, feels, and moves the body once more. And just as we always do, take a few quicker breaths. Just reconnect with our surroundings and ourselves. Opening the eyes. Having a stretch, shuffle, drink, whatever we might need. Let's bring that state back out with us. That witnessing, that observing, that noticing, that trying to bring a positive change. Let's see if we can bring that to the rest of our day today. As always, I'll let the chat run for a couple of minutes, so if anybody wants to add anything to there, please do so. Hopefully you found that useful today. It's quite interesting for myself going into that, thinking actually I've spotted my mind's going into work mode a little bit too early. But it wasn't hard just to rein it back in. That part that we did of just settling into the big mindful breath rhythm, just letting go of the things we don't want, but replacing it with some attitudes. In fact, in the well-being coaching I do through the company called Heart Math, one of their techniques is called replacement attitude breathing. And they really do this job and say, well, actually, if your mind is focused on something you don't want it to be, to replace that focus with something else that's positive can be a very good strategy. And that's fine. That's still within the mindfulness there's an in-between bit in mindfulness there, which is to let go, to ground ourselves in now, and then to bring the positive change. But we work on a similar thing, don't we? If the thoughts are too busy or I don't want to be in the thoughts, I'll just point the mind outside, just picking up on some sound again. And then once the mind starts to wander again, I might bring it back to something else. So just moving the mind around, giving it something new to focus upon is a very powerful way just of keeping focus and keeping ourselves grounded in the day anyway. Well, good. Yeah, I hope you found that useful in some way. Thanks, Harps. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know you do a lot of visualizations and imagery that comes naturally in that state. So great. Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, I think as this channel changes, as I go back to work, I might pop some really deep sessions in for those of you who would like to get into that, but also contrast that with some in the moment sort of everyday things too. Of course, one thing we do if you've not had lunch already is we can try some mindful eating too. Remember, same sort of principles there. We're pausing, we're noticing, we're pushing our awareness deeper into the flavors, the textures, the smells, the sounds. We're letting that be the focus of our attention, the experience of eating, not the doing of eating. So that might be something nice for us to try if you're going to have lunch soon. Well, thanks as always, everybody, and we'll pick it back up again tomorrow. And take care of yourselves. Hope you enjoy the rest of this day, and we'll pick it up again soon. Thanks, everybody.